Out of all the Hisuian Pokemon, Avalugg feels like the one that's the most easily forgotten and one of the least used competitively. But today, I'm gonna make it destroy some stuff. When you take a closer look, it's kind of an awkward Pokemon. Its Ice Rock typing doesn't really do it many favors defensively, and it's got one of the craziest looking stat spreads with massive base 127 attack and 184 defense. But other than that, it's super slow and dies against just about any super effective special attack. To use its crazy slow speed, I'm gonna pull this bad boy out under Trick Room. Now, since we outrun just about everything, we can use its massive attack along with a loaded dice item to take full advantage of stab multi-hit moves like Ice Skull Spear, along with Rock Blast. Even without any setup, with 5 hits, this can destroy a lot. We've got good coverage with Earthquake, and even Stealth Rock support if we need it. Its sturdy ability allows it to guarantee it lives any hit if we're at full HP, and then Terra Ghost can come in clutch to give us a bit of extra life. Overall, Hisuian Avalugg is a Pokemon people sleep on because they just expect full defense, but today this flat fella's about to go on a rampage. Avalugg in general is great for a few different reasons. First of all, if you needed a nice flat level surface to set something down, Buddy's got you. But also, if you're looking to do more damage than the opponent's going to expect, he's also your guy. Today is Flat Boy Wednesday, so we're showing some love to the thing. And if this sounds like a fun time to you, consider hitting that subscribe button. It's free, it only takes you a second, I promise you will not regret it. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into the match. Alright, so it turns out that my opponent is gonna lead off with the Corviknight, and that is not great if you're a grass monkey. I got Rillaboom out, and Steel Bird not really on the menu for you boy. So as I go ahead and get my Grassy Surge up, I also don't know exactly what this thing wants to do. I figure probably maybe U-turn, maybe a little Brave Bird action. One thing for sure though, I'm gonna click Knock Off. I would like to get rid of this thing's Rocky Helmet as early as possible because that thing is a damn menace and hurts to touch. Now I also get a crit, which does some considerable damage to the guy, but it turns out they go ahead and click in Agility. So I'm like, all right, this fella's cooking up something I did not expect, and one way to get around dying from a Brave Bird, and maybe with a nice little side effect, is going to be going to the Moltres here. Now the reason for that is because, first of all, I'm physically defensive as hell, but also anytime something has to make physical contact, Moltres is a great answer, and that is because of Flame Body. They do go for the Brave Bird. It is going to activate the Flame Body, which is awesome. You messed with the wrong spicy KFC today, and that is exactly what Moltres is supposed to do. We get that 30% chance, and now I'm far less afraid of Corviknight, honestly. This is the one answer that they have to easily switch into Avalugg, so I'm pretty happy to see that thing not only burnt, but also chipped down below half. So, as I consider going for the U-turn pivot, I instead clicked Flamethrower, thinking maybe they just sack the Corviknight at this point. Nope, they have an easy switch into Flash Fire Ceruledge. So now I've found myself in a little bit of a scary situation here. Now, at this point as I U-turn, they end up going for the Flame Charge, which is going to give this thing a speed boost. And honestly, Edward Swordhands over here is a little bit frightening. So as I U-turn, I can now go into whatever I want. The problem becomes I do not have a real great defensive answer for this. I could go into Blastoise. I'm worried about a defensive Terra, but also what I'm thinking I could do is honestly get Avalugg going early. Again, once I got that chip on the Corviknight, I figure they don't have a whole lot that wants to switch into an Avalugg, especially if I can get up Trick Room. So the problem becomes I need to go for my Fairy Terra here. That's just in case they want to pull out a Poltergeist. The Slowking definitely is not built to take a physical attack, but if I can go Terra Fairy, since this thing does not have a Swords Dance up, I can guarantee I can live at least one. And then as soon as the Trick Room goes up, things are about to get crazy for Avalugg. So they do click a Bitter Blade, which is fine. We're able to live. I do have to burn the Terra, but now the room is all sorts of tricky, and things are looking pretty nice here. So the dimensions twist, and that does mean that Slowking is going to be faster here. Bad news is I do have to use a turn of Trick Room. I can't really go for a Chilly Reception here, just because I don't necessarily want to have to hard switch into Avalugg on an attack. So instead, I can just go for a Scald. It is going to allow them to finish me off with the Iron Head, but he does have the Fairy coverage, and down goes the Slowking. So sadly, my only Trick Room setter is going to go down, but I need to try to make use of the turns with Avalugg while we've got him, and this is a perfect opportunity for it. So I'm going to go obviously right into the coffee table, and we're going to go ahead and throw some loaded dice around. So when it comes to things that want to switch into a nice little base 127 attack loaded dice stab Rock Blast, there's not a whole lot of it, and they are going to end up saving the Ceruledge. The thing that they realize that thing is obviously staring in the face of death, and they are going to go back into the Corviknight here. So fella comes in, it is just going to get absolutely blasted by some rocks. Imagine just coming in being like, what a beautiful day on the beach. Boom, just boulders thrown right at your stomach. That's got Gotta give Buddy some Tums for that. Regardless, it is going to take care of the Corviknight, and we're absolutely moving with the Avalugg. Now, obviously, we're on a little bit of a Trick Room timer, but as they don't have a whole lot of bulky options, we're going to be able to poke some holes and stuff, hopefully before we get a little bit of a slowdown after the Trick Room goes away. So, they decide to bring in Gengar, who is floating. I don't know what determines whether Gengar floats or stands on the ground, but as I click an Icicle Spear, we go for that just because I don't want to miss. And after a nice little crit on the first one, that is going to be able to take care of it with the 4 hits. Leave one tucked in the back pocket just in case. And that is going to be a dead Gengar, which is incredibly satisfying. Now, what I also really like about this Avalugg is that since I'm at full, I am guaranteed to be able to take an attack with Sturdy as well. So even after the Trick Room goes away on this next turn, we're still going to be able to get an attack off, and something is about to hurt. So, as on the revenge switch, they decide to bring in the Glalie. I'm like, this is fine. Just grab myself a free kill here. I go for a Rock Blast, and it misses. Rock Blast misses way more than you would think it would for a 90% accurate move. Absolutely busting my balls. Now, they go for an Earthquake. Doesn't do much because this thing, you literally cannot scratch us with a physical attack. Base 184 defense is just evil. But what's interesting is this is a Moody Glalie. So Moody is an ability that gives you +2 to a random stat every turn at the cost of one stat being -1. So they they get rid of at least the drop stat with a white herb, and things are going to get wild because they even go for a Protect. That's going to give them another chance to get a Moody off. It's going to give them +2 to defense, but it drops their speed. And honestly, a speed drop is perfect. I'm kind of hoping that now Avalugg is going to be faster than this thing at -1 speed. The problem is, though, Avalugg is in fact about as slow as it could possibly be, so honestly, probably not. Now, they also are going to pull out the Terra Ground. That's going to help them out both defensively and offensively because, first of all, they do outspeed, and now it's going to give you a nice little stab Earthquake here, which I live with 38 just barely. And also, sadly, as I click Rock Blast, this thing is boosted defense as well. It's not going to do much. It barely freaking scratches the guy, and I found myself back up against the wall. And this evil freaking devil snowball is an asshole. So here's the thing. They get another Moody. I'm really hoping for another speed drop. And guess what? It gets the speed drop here, which is actually exactly what we needed. Because now, here's the thing. They're going to Protect again. Surely they're going to hope for a speed boost to get themselves faster than me. So expecting the Protect, I can just go ahead and get my Stealth Rock up for free. I'm going to be like, yeah, it's fine. Just go ahead and Protect. I'm just going to set these here. And now it all depends on what this thing gets for Moody. We're going to see what it boosts and what it drops. As long as it's not speed boost, we're looking good. It gets a special defense boost. And luckily for us, it drops its speed even further, which is hilarious. They go for another little second Protect here to try to boost that speed even more. But luckily for us, I can get off an Icicle Spear. We get a crit on the first one. Guaranteed with 5, it should be able to take care of it. And that is going to be the most hilarious possible way to take care of a Moody Glalie. You really just let Arceus take the wheel when you're working with Moody. And luckily for us, that time it worked out. And it's also just so funny seeing Avalugg outspeed something when the Trick Room isn't even up. So here's the thing. We're hanging on by a damn thread over here, but we're absolutely ripping through the squad. And as they now go into the Sarah Ledge, I'm like, all right, they are going to be able to finish me off with some type of fire coverage, probably. So I'm just going to stay in here and sack the guy. We've done enough work today. But as they click Flame Charge, look at that. We live it with 14. That did barely anything to us, which is hilarious. And now as I go for an Earthquake, we get a surprise knockout that I did not even expect. And it's really, this thing's defense, you cannot touch it on the physical side. It obviously just dies if you breathe on it with a special attack. But hey, when it comes to physical attacks, we're having ourselves a nice little time. So bad news for us is that it seems like our luck has run out. But the good news is they're down to 2 Mons left. And as they go Meowscarada here, they're just going to pull out the U-turn. I thought it would be so incredibly funny if I lived that, but you know, I mean, our luck has run out. That's going to take care of Avalugg. They finish off with the U-turn, which is fine because now as they go into their final Pokemon, we can see if we can hopefully finish things off. Now, the bad thing is also their final Mon is going to be Dragonite. And if you've ever played a match in today's day and age in Gen 9, you know that if there's a Dragonite around, especially if it has multi-scale still active, you're going to have a bad time and it is far from over. So they go for the Dragon Dance. As I bring in Moltres, my plan is this. I need to get off a Will-O-Wisp. And if this misses, I will jump off of a cliff. Luckily, however, it does not Willow miss. And we get the Willow Connect. And also now I'm like, please do not be Lumberry. If it's Lumberry, I could be in very big trouble. Luckily, though, no Lumberry. Incredibly clutch. We get the burn that we needed. And I'm feeling much safer about our situation here. So as I go for the Roost, they're going to just continue to Dragon Dance, which honestly becomes a little bit frightening, but at least, you know, the burn chip is going to break multi-scale. And no matter how many dances this thing gets, it's still probably not going to be that crazy of a threat. So I get up a roost here just for a little insurance, make sure Moltres is feeling nice and healthy. We're just chilling on the ground. No, you can't tell. It would be sick if the animation of roost actually puts you on the ground. Come on, it's 2025. Game Freak, please hire me. I swear to God. But they go for a third Dragon Dance. Now things are starting to get a little bit out of hand here. It's going to be faster than everything I've got. But luckily with the burn having its attack, I do have the ability to U-turn into the one thing I think that can deal with this, which is going to be my bulky Blastoise. This is more of a bulky kind of defensive variant as opposed to a Shell Smash Sweeper. And we get ourselves a classic Gen 1 matchup here. So it has a bunch of Dragon Dances, but I'm at full and I'm bulky. So all I got to do is live one attack. It does turn out that they have the Outrage. So highest possible damage output, we are barely able to hang on. And then I can fire off a nice little Ice Beam. And that is going to take care of the Dragonites. And you got to admit, the Blastoise versus Dragonite situation is just a classic Gen 1 matchup that you love to see. So Blastoise is, you know, eating some leftovers, but probably an imminent death incoming. Their final mon is going to be the Meowscarada. So as long as I can get Moltres in for free versus this fella, we should be able to have the W in the bag. So I have no reason to switch out here. I basically just need to sack the Blastoise. They do go for a Play Rough, which is a risky maneuver. They're going to turn into the Fairy type, which I guess does help them a bit, but it does connect on the Play Miss. And now all I got to do is bring it back home for us. The Vespiquen did not even need to come out, mind you. The scariest damn mon on the team. But I go into the Moltres here once again. And I am fully physically defensive Moltres. So I figure at least without a super effective flamethrower, it's probably going to be a 2-hit KO. And as they just play rough again, that probably tells me they're choiced in some way. But I go ahead and burn his ass. It does live, but I also get another burn. This Moltres is just out here burning stuff today. And I kind of am like, you know, I guess that's what I'm supposed to do, but I still feel bad. Regardless, though, I can now just finish it off with one more flamethrower. As they do play rough again, it just heals us essentially. And that is going to be a dead Meowscarada, and that's going to be the end of the game on that one. So I thought that was just a ridiculously goofy game, and Avalugg got to do some stuff that it doesn't always get to do, which is always fun to see. So that's going to be the end of that one. I had a fun time with it, especially versus that Glalie matchup, kind of hilarious. And that is now going to bring us into game number 2, because I do want to see if I can get this thing to destroy some more stuff. Loaded Dice Avalugg, I feel like nobody expects it, and it truly does just do more damage than you think it's going to do. So we got a bit of a team switch up here. This is the classic Power Trick Fortress squad, if you remember from a little while back, but some Trick Room shenanigans are bound to happen. And look, if you've stuck around this far into the video, go ahead and do me a favor and hit that like button. It really does help out the channel, and it just takes you a second. So I don't know, click the button. And with that, let's jump into the match. All right, so this time my opponent is going to go ahead and lead off with the Tusk, and I've got myself a big thick spaghetti, and I got the Deoxys defense. This thing has a pretty important role on the squad. First of all, I figure lead Tusk probably just goes Stealth Rock here. Gonna allow me to set up a layer of spikes, but I also threaten it with a Psychic Noise. So I'm thinking maybe they swap, and they do, which works out pretty nicely. So we get a good little bit of momentum just straight up from the lead here. And as I set up a layer of spikes, I want to get those up to just basically try to chip things and punish switches as much as possible. Try to open up the game for Avalugg to have things at least a little bit weakened. So I set up a layer of little spiky Legos, and now as they swap into Lucario, I consider going for a second spikes, but I'm like, you know what? Might as well get this Trick Room party started. I feel like a pretty good opportunity to at least give Avalugg some momentum early. So as they end up going for the Flash Cannon, reveals they're going to be special Lucario, first of all, but now the dimensions are twisted and we're going to have a good time. So one other reason why this is one of the best Trick Room setters is because of Teleport. Because first of all, under Trick Room, I am slower, but as they go for another Flash Cannon, I live it because I'm bulky, and that allows me to go for a Teleport. This thing is one of the few mons that still has access to Teleport, and Teleport is great because it's a negative priority move, meaning I always go second, which allows me to swap in Avalugg without the threat of taking an attack from the Lucario. So I bring in young Crimson Chin, and we're ready to go crazy on him, essentially. So bad news for me is they do have the priority Vacuum Wave. Does not matter how tricky the room is, they are going to go first with that, and since it's a special attack, I just get obliterated by it. But that's why Sturdy is so incredibly clutch. We live it with one, and then I can in turn finish it off with an Earthquake. So, you know, down goes Lucario. That is very satisfying. The problem is, though, freaking Tusk being around. I am sitting at 1 HP, which leaves me at least I feel like, very vulnerable to a rapid spin here. They can not only finish me with a rapid spin, but they can also get rid of my spikes. So in order to combat that, I'm going to end up going for the Terra Ghost, really hopeful that they're going to click either a fighting or that rapid spin, and then I can get myself, buy myself a free turn here, because I know that one Icicle Spear likely is not going to be able to do it against the Tusk here without any boost. We're just raw dogging attacks out here. So I go for the Icicle Spear. Great news is I do get a crit on one of them, and then after 4 hits, sadly, it's not quite going to be able to finish it off, but they just click a Bulk Up, which is fantastic. They have underestimated the Avalugg once again, and that is exactly what we want to see, because the Trick Room is still going to be up for at least one more turn, and that means that even with the defense boost, it's not going to be able to live another Icicle Spear. So while they do realize that, however, they are just going to swap that thing out and save it for later, which is kind of annoying. But it makes sense because they can just go right into Keldeo here, who does resist the Icicle Spear, and I had no reason to click really anything else there. Just try to go for the safe play. Keldeo comes in. My Little Pony looking ass is going to absolutely, you know, eat that up. But I mean, hey, still the opportunity for 5 hits, always an opportunity for a crit. I do just get the 4, which is fine. And now the dimensions return to normal, sadly. But while I could just leave this thing in as a little sack, I have a pretty safe bet in switching into Belly Bolt here. And since they don't have any hazards up, they have no Stealth Rock, they have no spikes, I figured there is a shot that I could get back up Trick Room and then be able to maybe go back into Avalugg and see if we can get just a little bit more value out of it. So as I bring in the Belly Bolt here, we come in on an Air Slash, which I didn't really expect, but hey, that's fine. I'm a Salt Vest, I'm about thick as a bowl of oatmeal, and we absolutely eat that up. So in this situation, if I was them expecting, you know, electric attack, I would probably go into the Tusk. So expecting a switch into the Great Tusk, I instead decide to click Chilling Water. But to my surprise, nope, I'm just still dealing with the pony. Now, my Chilling Water doesn't do anything. It also drops the physical attack, doesn't make a damn difference. And now I'm like, all right, if you want to stay in here and just continue to surf on an AV Belly Bolt, I'm just going to take it. I get charged up by our crazy-ass ability, and then I can finish it with a Volt Switch, and that's going to be a dead Keldeo. So I will absolutely take that. And that is one less answer to switch into an Icicle Spear, so that's always welcome. Now, bad thing is, while I do finish it off with the Volt Switch, I have to go into whatever I want. They can see it, but I'm still feeling like maybe, just maybe, there's a shot that young Space Getty over here has an opportunity to still get up another Trick Room before going down. Again, I'm super bulky on this thing, and it's going to take a lot to at least hopefully to finish it off here. So as they bring in the Iron Valiant, this is kind of one of the main things that I'm worried about here. You know, it comes in, takes some spikes. I am going to try to get up one more Trick Room if possible, but sadly the Valiant is too much. Moonblast is going to finish me, and down goes the Deoxys. But hey, it was worth a shot. The thing didn't really have a whole lot of value other than trying to get up one more Trick Room. And while I'm more physically defensive, it makes sense that a Moonblast does it there. But here's the thing. I got 2 Trick Room options here, and guess who can take special attacks is our buddy Slowking. So check it out. I can go for a Trick Room here. They realize that Valiant has no business staying in. And as they bring in the Tusk, I find myself in a spot where I have a kind of a decent opportunity. So I first of all am able to get up the Trick Room. That's going to stick around for the 4 turns at least after I switch this thing out. And I have kind of a couple choices here. I could potentially just use that Trick Room to outspeed the Tusk, finishing it off with a Scald. Or I could try to conserve the Slowking and try to get in the Avalugg as early as possible. Now, I opt to go for the plan B. That's to go for a Chilly Reception here, which is going to switch me out first. And then as this thing's going to have to go for an attack, I figure I probably have to sack something. But honestly, as they probably just click an Earthquake or a knockoff, I can go into Belly Bolt, and then that's going to allow Avalugg to come right back in and then at least use up some of those Trick Room turns. So Belly Bolt comes in. This thing is under Trick Room, but I just come in on an Earthquake. He's going to take care of it, and that's fine. I really did want to make sure that I still have Slowking around for that Valiant if need be, but as Belly Bolt is finished off, now it's time once again to get Avalugg hanging on 1 HP, by the way, to get some more value here. And luckily, since this thing has great damage on it, we should be pretty much fine. So Avalugg comes right in our natural habitat in the Trick Room. It is snowing as well. I guess the snow obviously doesn't really help us out, considering we're not Ice type anymore, and I have 1 HP anyway, but I go for an Icicle Spear, and that is going to be able to finish off the Tusk. So, you know, while I was going to just sack this thing, turns out hanging on by 1 HP, sometimes he still can get some nice little value. And not only that, but it doesn't look like they have any reliable priority, and we should be in a spot to at least get, if anything, some really big damage on something. So they now decide to bring in the Okie Dokie, and this thing is generally a pretty bulky, weird fella. They're down to 3 Mons left, by the way, and I figure my best bet is just to get a little super effective Earthquake off and might even grab a kill depending on how this thing's built. But they are going to pull out the defensive Terra. So, you know, they're going to go Terra Dark here, which is just going to be a neutral Earthquake, which is fine. Honestly, I really do just need some type of damage on this thing because I'm kind of running out of offensive options on the squad here. So the Earthquake comes through. It doesn't do much. They're able to finish me off with an Ice Punch. But as my goal was just to get this Avalugg to do as much as possible, finishing off the Tusk still felt pretty good. So down goes the Lug, and they are now just Terra Dark on the Okie Dokie. And I'm realizing one thing is actually kind of hilarious. My two attackers are a Power Trick Fortress along with a Choice Band Gumshoes. So, you know, not really the strongest of options, but I decided to bring in Gumshoes first. I have one turn of Trick Room left, and I'm honestly feeling like an adaptability Choice Banded Body Slam it's going to hurt a lot. And I mean, no matter what they want to go into here, they do end up swapping as they bring in the Galarian Zapdos. Big ol' Roadrunner feat is still gonna not really enjoy this much. I go for that body slam and check it out. It almost knocks it out, which is quite unfortunate that I did not get the kill there because that would have been so sick. But the Trick Room goes away, allows him to go for the Brave Bird, which honestly ends up being pretty nice for me because as they Brave Bird there, that's going to be enough chip obviously to just knock itself out. So chalk one up is a W for the Gumshoes. I do have a full Gumshoes video up on the channel. If you want to see that thing put in some more work, definitely check that out. But now we've got ourselves in a 2v2 situation, and this game is incredibly close. Now, I do not have any Trick Room up, and also as I know they probably go Okie Dokie here, I can't afford to bring in the Slowking. So instead, as I go into the Fortress, luckily for me, I am Pin Missile. And I think if I can get a Pin Missile off, even without a Power Trick, I might be able to grab a nice little knockout here. And the most important of all, though, is that I can take attacks from a physical attacker all damn day long. They go for a Drain Punch, stealing a little bit of my health, but check it out. Your ass has been missiled in a pin fashion. It looks like I'm going to probably need a whole bunch of hits here, you know, without any attack investment. This thing is built to go for a Power Trick. This thing also has a dedicated video up on the channel if you want to see it put in some work, but it does put in some work here because now we're able to take care of the Okie Dokie, which is incredibly satisfying. And knowing that their final Pokemon is going to be that Iron Valiant, if I can get off a little Gyro Ball here, I think I can grab a knockout, considering this thing's about fast as hell, and I am Slow Ball. So I go for the Gyro Ball. I'm not exactly sure what type of coverage it's going to have. It goes for the Thunderbolt, which we barely are able to live, and a Gyro Ball is going to connect and be able to finish off the Valiant. So that was a crazy-ass endgame, and taking care of just crazy, scary stuff left and right. So shout out to Fortress for really bringing us home there. That would have been a pretty bad situation had I not got that off. But luckily, that's going to be the end of it. And you love to see a full team effort when I have nothing but crazy shenanigans. So thank you guys very much for watching. I really do appreciate all the support, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace out.